Hey friends, welcome to Module 2 of How to Start a College Ministry. Very excited to have you guys back, and let's go ahead and get started. There are really two types of leaders that you need to run your ministry, to lead your ministry. We look at this after the model of what Jesus gave us in the New Testament. As you see Jesus in the early part of his ministry, he goes out and he begins to look for leaders among the crowd, and he begins to invite these disciples to himself. And eventually you get to Luke 12. He's on top of the mountain, he's getting to know people, and then he begins appointing people to position to then go down the mountain and begin to do ministry in the land, to heal and to preach good news, all those sorts of things. And so it's essential for you, as you understand your context, of where you're doing ministry at, both in your church and also externally in the city and in the campus, to figure out who's going to do this with you. You need to lean into a leadership team, and that's what we're going to talk about today. You have two types of leaders. You have adult leaders, and then you have student leaders, or if you're running a young adult ministry, you would have young adult leaders. And so let's start with adults. So in the adult leaders and the ones you need to recruit, there are really two types of leaders that you're looking for. And I call those reactive adult leaders and proactive adult leaders. A reactive adult leader is an adult who simply will help when asked to help. So, for instance, this is someone who you say, hey, will you open your home for a small group midweek? Or will you provide a meal to these students? Or will you come to this event we're doing and just help serve in this particular area? And they're like, sure, we'd love to do that. And so they're not necessarily ingraining themselves into the fabric of the ministry or wanting to be on like a significant spiritual leadership team with you. They just want to help serve and support the ministry. And you need these kind of leaders. These kind of leaders can be really great, especially for students who are maybe not from, or at college away from home. Having these people open up their homes and be hospitable to students makes students feel at home, and that makes them really sticky to your ministry. And so they're incredible leaders that you need. You need to figure out who are those leaders, who are those leaders that can be those reactive adult leaders for you. The second type of leader you're looking for is the proactive adult leader. This is an adult leader that wants to be on your team. Wants to be on your team. They want to help shape the vision, mission, strategy, all these kind of things. They want to teach and disciple, all those kind of things. They want to be more involved in the day-to-day of the ministry. They're going to really help you provide wisdom and stability and support to a ministry, because here's what happens. If we think back to Module 1, maybe if the average timeline of someone in this, like leading a college or young adult ministry, is maybe 2 years, most of the time it is these leaders that are behind, that are stabilizing the ministry long after you're gone. So if you think about building a sustainable, long-lasting ministry, these people are key to that. So love them, cherish them, and pick them wisely. All right, so those are the two type of adult leaders. The other type of leader is the student leader, or if you're in a young adult ministry, a young adult. So the thing is, especially speaking to students here, the moment you're out of college, you almost instantly become irrelevant to college students. And so it's important, if you're going to have influence among the next generation of college students or young adults, you have to bring them onto your leadership team to lead out in their peers, because they're the ones that are going to attract their peers to this ministry to become disciples of Jesus. And so you really need to be wise at picking them out. And so you have to have these. I always say this, that when you're leading a ministry, if you really want to make disciples and make disciples, that you as the leader, the college leader, or young adult leader, need to carry a posture of supporting the people that you're ministering to. So there's a kind of an axiom or a phrase that says we are staff-led, or we are student-led and staff-supported. Student-led, staff-supported. And it's the idea that you're helping them, you're supporting them as they are leading the ministry. That's very important, because you're going to get so much more buy-in when your students or young adults feel like, hey, this is our ministry, we get to lead it, and you're there as that support person, helping them kind of, I always say this, like, it's like bowling. They're bowling, and you're like the whatever that is in the gutters. You're kind of the barriers in the gutters to help them kind of stay in the lane, kind of stay in the game. And so that's really important to know. So, what I want you to do for this week, as you are preparing to think about building your team, is to come up with a couple of things to help you kind of create really a map to know, hey, who should I invite on my team? When it comes to the adult leaders, I want you to think of like what are the characteristics or qualities that you're looking for, and I want you to write down 3 or 5 of those. And all of this is going to be in the PDF that I've sent you. Write those down and really begin to ask those questions so that once you have a profile of the kind of person you're looking for, then you can go out and find that person to come and be on your team. You can send that invite to them or request to them to see if they would love to join your ministry team. So that's what you'll do for the adults, and do that for both the reactive and proactive. And then with the student, is figure out what are the qualities you're looking for in a student leader. There's a acronym that goes around that we want FAT students, and that we want them faithful, available, and teachable. Figure out like what are those core characteristics you're looking for in a student leader, and write those out and say, if it's faithful, what are they faithful in? Faithful in attending church, faithful to Jesus, faithful in devotion to God, faithful in friendships. What are they? What does that mean to be faithful? So take some time, this is going to be in your PDF, to write out what are the characteristics of a leader that you're looking for, and then write those out, and then begin to identify, do I have that person in my church? If you do not have that person in your church, here's what I would tell you. You need to begin to pray for that person. Say, Lord, would you please send me an adult leader that embodies this? Would you please send me a student leader that embodies this? And just begin to pray for that and ask God for that person, because you need a ministry team to do this with. Here's the thing, you can do ministry alone. One, that's not really very fun, and 2, that also limits the ceiling and the impact of the growth that you can have in a ministry. So figure out, I want you to build a profile of the reactive adult leader, of the proactive adult leader, and the student leader. That way you now have an understanding and a vision of, this is exactly what I'm looking for out of a leader. This is good, because here's what's going to happen too, is with the leaders, they're going to build the cultural like DNA and the spiritual climate of your ministry. So I would say that whatever you want your ministry to look like, those are the kind of people that you need to recruit. And so don't always look at the outside, let's look on the inside of what kind of characteristics and qualities they have and how you want to shape your ministry. So hope you enjoyed this module, and I look forward to meeting with you all soon.